This regular meeting of the, we'll call this regular meeting of the Lakeport City Council to order this Tuesday, December the 6th, 2016. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Shield.
Here.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Here.
Councilmember Turner. Here. Councilmember Mattina. Here. And Mayor Spillman.
Here. Thank you. If anyone would like to speak on anything that's not on our agenda this evening, you can fill out one of the sheets on the back table and turn that in now. And we can't come to a consensus or discuss anything beyond hearing you, but fill it out and turn it in, and then we'll call you up here when we get to that.
Fill it out.
Perfect. We're up here, so get us while we're here. Next up, I'd like to ask, item number 2, I'd like to see if I could have Tina Scott lead us in the pledge this evening.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tina. Tonight, next up we have acceptance of the agenda, but we have one item on number 5, B, presentation for the new employees. We need to pull that. They won't be here this evening?
There was scheduling conflicts, and they couldn't come.
Okay.
So we're gonna reschedule that.
Okay, all right. So we would be looking at the agenda minus item 5B. And Madam Clerk, do we have any urgency items this evening?
No, we don't.
Okay. Then I would be looking for an acceptance of the agenda minus 5B.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Looks like we're good. Thank you, everyone, for coming down this evening. We'll try to get you out here as quick as we can because it feels like it's going to get cold out there again. So, next up, we have item number 4, which would be our consent agenda. We'll look at these items in a group without discussion. We will give council an opportunity to pull items, and we will give the public opportunity to speak on any of these items before we vote on them. This evening we have item A, which is ordinances waived except for reading of title. Item number B, which would be approved the minutes of the regular council meeting of November 15, 2016. And then we would have item C, which is approve the application 2016-029 with staff recommendations for the Lady of Guadalupe Walk on December 12, 2016. And it sounds like we will likely pull item number C to have a little discussion. There's a few changes, and so I would make the move to pull that. Is there any other items that anyone else would like to discuss or pull? Council? No? Are there any other items that the public would like to comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item C.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then Margaret, we had some changes on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today we got a call from the applicant, Mr. Silva, that he had some changes to his plan, and I just wanted an opportunity to make that statement to the council. I didn't speak to him personally. Kelly, do you want to explain what Mr. Silva asked you about?
So he had requested from staff that we add 12 horses to his parade and another 100 people. And he provided some insurance, which is not adequate. However, we can hopefully work with the insurance broker on that. So I think the chief might have some comments on the horses and potentially the extra 100 people.
Well, I talked to him, it's got to be a couple weeks ago, to go over the plan with him, and what he advised me at the time was basically that it was just going to be people using the sidewalks and potentially a little bit on the shoulder of the roadway, and the only concern he felt that there might be at the time would be when the group crosses Martin Street at Forbes going northbound, because they would come in on South Main, turn down either C or D Street, then take Forbes to Martin, and then cross Martin. So we felt that was the only concern at the time, which, considering if the event were to be approved and you had the proper insurance, then I was going to try to arrange to have some coverage in the area just to kind of keep an eye on it. When I found out about this today, I called his cell phone and requested that he call me as soon as possible, or be at the council meeting tonight so we could find out further information on the additional persons and horses. Because as of right now, I don't know what his plan is. Obviously, the horses are not going to be using the sidewalk, they would be on the street. So I have traffic safety concerns. Before I could make any recommendation or anything like that, I would have to know more details about that, about the horses and the additional people, because it may impact vehicle traffic in these areas of the city. And that's really where it is now. He hasn't called me back yet, so.
And there was no request for road closure on this either, so there'd be quite a few things we would need to work out with them if you decide to move forward on this item.
Yeah, it didn't sound like that was covered in the manpower aspect of what was in the packet, so.
No, I think I only estimated for one person for an hour, maybe to monitor the crossing. But at this point, that doesn't appear to be the plan, so I feel like we need more information. If the council were to approve it, there would need to be conditions that he'd need to work with Public Works and Police on a proper traffic safety plan, as well as the correct insurance.
It seems we don't have enough time to really do that. The event's next week.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it is short on time.
If we approve the extra people, would that be a problem and not approve the horses?
I think that's probably fine. He should be able to get them, I think, get them onto the sidewalk and the shoulder. But I don't know. What was the original number?
200.
200, so now we're talking about 300. That's a lot of folks, and I'm not sure that it's not gonna spill into the roadway.
Well, I mean, is this, if I wanted to go get 50 or 100 of my best equestrian friends right now and just ride through town, is there anything that stops me
There's
from
no
doing
law
that?
against that.
They have to follow the rules of the road though,
Right,
correct?
they have to follow the traffic laws. The horse would be a vehicle.
I mean, same with the people.
Yeah, the people would too. They'd have to follow, people and horses would have to follow the vehicle code. So
That's a good point.
they could do that on their own. I mean, that's not something that I think we should be involved in if they're gonna do that on their own.
But what's the downside of that? I mean, if they decide to do that on their own, what's the,
Well, it just, we don't know what the traffic concerns might be, would be the downside I see. It certainly would be nice to know ahead of time what traffic impacts there may be, so that we could potentially alert the public and drivers of a potential large influx of pedestrians and horse traffic.
and how many horses?
I think 12 was the number.
I think,
Because that would have an obvious overflow from the sidewalk onto the roadway.
It
The
would.
horses aren't, they're not, to me, that's not a big deal. 300 people, that's a long, even people walking abreast by 3, that's 100 rows of people 3 by 3. That's a pretty long parade if they follow the rules of the sidewalk.
Yeah. And yeah, there's potential traffic concerns and impacts. With that many people, for sure.
But it is on what, Monday, as opposed to a Saturday?
It's next week, which is the 12th. Right?
It's a Monday, but traffic will be worse in the city on a Monday than a Saturday. But I forget the time again exactly. I think it was afternoon.
Looks like 1:30
Yeah.
p.m.
So that's a fairly heavy traffic time for the city. People returning from lunch and whatnot.
I mean, at this point, too, the application, they're not asking for anything beyond what a normal citizen would have to deal with walking down the sidewalk. So I mean, if we do approve it, and we just give them some extremely heavy conditions, well, I mean, they have to, I mean, they're not asking for anything more than following the laws of the city of Lakeport and state of California at this point.
Well, the current application is 200 plus walking, so we could approve what they currently have. There's nothing to stop them from riding a horse down the street. They have to follow the law, that's what you're saying, right?
Well, I mean, with this application, they still have to follow the law.
And they still have to bring in the proper insurance. We don't have that. So we could approve this subject to the proper insurance and that they follow the law.
Correct. Yeah, I mean,
Given.
if the city approves it, then they definitely need the insurance, the proper insurance, because then it's become a sanction to them.
Chief, is there an issue with, if, say we approve it as is, and no mention of the horses, but then the horses are present, do you have an issue with your staff being involved in that, or?
Well, I just don't know what, if we can handle it, then I don't mind being involved, but I just need to know, I want to know what his plan, where the horse is going to be. Are they going to be on the shoulder? Are they going to be in the traffic lane? Because I'd certainly like to make some notices to the public on traffic safety concerns.
They'd have to be on the shoulder if we approve this application,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, I mean, a horse, under the vehicle code, typically, I'd have to research it some more, but they can be on a highway.
They can.
Which is any public road, any publicly maintained road is a highway.
Okay.
And a horse can be on a highway.
So, yeah, but they're considered the same as a
They're
bicycle.
basically.
They're a
yeah,
vehicle.
They're a vehicle.
Yeah, well, staff wasn't recommending it now, we just wanted to make you aware of their recent request of what was, going on, and we would work with them in any capacity to make sure it's safer.
Well, I think the fact that Marty brought up that there's 303 abreast, it's quite, and then when they start going across Main Street and the insurance liability thing, I think would be a stipulation that we need to lean on heavily and make sure that that particular part,
They need to fulfill that, for
Yeah.
sure.
because in absence of that, then you got a serious problem.
The insurance, I mean, I assume that it's just not enough amount. I mean, $1 million, is that what we're?
It was just a type that we need to work with the insurance company, it wasn't correct.
It had
We need to
other-
get the correct certificate.
No,
okay.
yeah,
Insurance.
so there were other deficiencies. The amount was okay.
That's all I have.
The public side of anything?
Is one of the representatives here?
We'll open this up to the public.
I don't
Is
see
there
him
anyone
here.
from the public that would have any comment on the items that we've discussed on this item? Seeing none? Chief, would you have an issue with just amending the number of participants? In other words, going to 300
Um,
on the application?
Well,
I mean, it is a significant.
I'd like to talk to
increase.
him more in detail.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would call me back before the council meeting or potentially be at the council meeting. I don't, it's,
It's tough when people make significant changes right on
Well,
the.
it would be hard to
Other
regulate
comments.
who shows up too.
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, the application says 200 plus walking. As long, we know that chief is gonna work with him to make sure that he understands how to make it safe.
Yeah, I'll certainly work with him no matter how many people show up, but I wouldn't, I guess I'm not recommending the council approve anything other than what's in front of them right now, is what I'm saying, because I don't have enough further information.
So we could approve this as presented contingent on the insurance getting corrected. And then that would, okay.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, if they follow the laws, and it's like Councilmember Shields said, anyone can get a group of people and use the public road.
Right.
So, but just if we're sanctioning and approving it, I just think we need more information.
Well, I mean, I agree, there's no representative here, and we're down to crunch time, because we're not going to approve this before the date, so, I mean, the application at hand, And that's the only thing I'm comfortable approving.
Right.
And if, they want to meet with you, they do their due diligence, then you guys can discuss the,
Just to
Then we can tell them what they can legally do, without needing, city sanction on it, and that is to not impede the roadway. I mean, they're gonna have to use
Yes.
the shoulder and the sidewalk.
Right.
The thing that occurs to me is that a well-organized event, which is what we would like it to be, would have been presented far in advance of this date. And if they were totally organized, like I think that somebody would be that has 200 or 300 people, they would have let us know like a month ago and not a week before the event. So that leads me to believe that it may not be as quite as heavily organized as it could be. So I think sticking to the original one is the safest bet. Not that they're not organized, but
Okay, I would entertain a motion then for this item.
If there's no further comment, Mr. Mayor, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve this event contingent on the correct insurance certificate.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for application 2016-029. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll go with it. Chief, good luck with the extras.
I expected he'll call me tomorrow, so
Okay.
we'll certainly talk to him and try to figure that out, and I'll share the information with the appropriate city staff.
Perfect.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have area number 5. We're going to do public presentations. Madam Clerk, citizen input?
I didn't receive a card, but.
Oh, it's up on the table there.
No, it's-
Oh, I've got one.
Actually, I just signed my name, I didn't get anything out.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
I'll be quick.
Oh. Steve Brooks.
Hi, Council, Steve Brooks, Lakeport business owner and former city employee. 3 things. First one is, as you know, Mike Stevenson passed away unexpectedly. Mike was a great person for the city in terms of a lot of infrastructure projects. Started in the mid-'80s when he came here and retired in, I think, 2004. I did speak to the family. There may be something after the first of the year, and very grateful for the outpouring of love and respect and offers of help. A special thing to Chief Rasmussen, who was very instrumental in helping them communicate when the facts became known. But something after the first of the year, and the city might want to consider doing something to participate in some way when and if that thing should happen. Number 2 is just compliments on the Bevins Street repaving job. That's the way I go to work, and I notice it's very nice and good to see. And the last thing, since I also drive on that Bevins Street, is just an inquiry, or you can't answer now, about the Vista Point Shopping Center. I noticed on the agenda there was some discussions with the owner about property or easements earlier in the year, but that shopping center continues to be kind of an eyesore. You all know that I'm a preacher in the choir, but I just wanted to raise that. You guys have a nice holiday.
Thank you, Steve.
thanks, Steve.
Okay. Any other citizen input? That's it? Okay. Next up, we have item number B, which is a presentation from our Public Works, Acting Public Works Director, Doug, correct?
No.
Oh, we pulled that.
That's what I pulled off.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what, yeah, Jack Long from,
Oh, that's, okay, I'm sorry. Item number C. I had it circled and everything. and
Yeah.
Just went right into it.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Jack Long is here to, he has a proposition for the city for a sprint boat event, boat races in Lake. And so what I asked him to do is to bring his idea to the council to see if the council was in favor in concept. And then there would be a lot more detail to work out with staff and for the event. But we wanted to bring the concept to you to see if you were even interested in moving forward with this event. So anyway, with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Long.
Now you call me Mr. Long.
Yeah.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, thank you.
We need to
About a
put a
year-
bigger ledge on the front of the building.
I don't know. One thing I didn't expect would fail. About a year and a half ago, I was working for the county at the time, and myself and one of the other founders who's here, it's Kip Knorr, who's sitting right there. He knows all about racing, and I know all about putting on the racing, so it's not a bad combination. I trust him on the racing much more than me, for sure. I've got about 30 years' experience developing motorsports events of different kind at the highest levels, and I ended up in Lakeport, so I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk to you about this project. As I said, we've been working on this for a year and a half, so it's very well developed. It hasn't been shared completely with staff in the city here, but we're prepared to do that. We've done extensive planning. To do an event like this is typically the kind of size of a operating manual that we use to make everything happen. So I can assure you it'll be done professionally. I can assure you that the racers that come are eager to come, and it's going to be a big show for us. I really think, and I've thought for years, that to have this beautiful lake and not to have a real motorsports event is something that we should rethink and make happen. So that's really the start of it, and I'll give you the rundown based on this. I understand that you had an opportunity to review some of this earlier. So the introduction is basically self-explaining, and the bottom line is Clear Lake Motorsport Enterprises is LLC is in formation. So if you've looked it up, it's not there yet, but it will be within 10 days or so, maybe less. Okay. This is an example of the City of Long Beach race, to give you a feel for the type of boats that we'll have here. These boats run over 100 miles an hour, the fastest up to 140. The City of Long Beach has been doing this for 45 years, and they have the Long Beach Marine Stadium, which is the site that they hold on. It's very small compared to what we're offering here and what could work. So all the racers and the sanctioned body are extremely happy about what we're doing and that can work. Okay. The fact sheet is pretty evident. Essentially, there's a triangle course that we've designed, which I'll show you later, which Kip actually put together. And we're talking May or June. It's going down to June now. I checked with, I think we talked yesterday with Brad and Doug. He indicated the dates we discussed. I really don't necessarily want to go public with that right now, the date itself, because I still have to get approval from the sanction body. But there seems to be an opening for the time, and it's in early June. The Clear Lake Sprint boat course is adjacent to Library Park, and it's a triangular course, which again I'll show you in a minute, so you can see what the footprint of the project will be. The sanction body, which is the Southern California Speedboat Club, is a sanction body for this type of racing now all across the country. It used to be with the American Powerboat Association, and they recently split off, but they've been doing these races for 30 years. And they're really terrific. They provide the insurance with them that covers the racers themselves. On top of that, we'll have an umbrella policy that we'll discuss with Doug and whoever else you designate, probably David too, so we can accomplish what needs to be done with the insurance. But there'll be a general liability umbrella policy on top of what they provide. So there'll be 8 classes of speedboats racing up to 140 miles an hour. There'll also be parts of the program set aside for local racers to participate, including a junior racing program we're hoping to get started. The scheduled races would not start before 10 a.m. and would not end after 5. It would be done probably about 3, with local activities after 3 o'clock, like
we're talking about some of these beautiful crisscross wooden boats being involved in parades and other things at the time. So, okay. This is an example of the boats we're talking about. I'll apologize now to Kip if I put the wrong names on them. We'll
Go
see.
ahead.
Anyway, one of the exciting parts of this program is that there's a race team from Australia that have super fast boats and super professional drivers. They're going to be here racing with us too. That boat that you're looking at will go over 140 miles an hour. Next, please. Here's a list of the racers and the types of racing we're talking about. This list will vary. Some of the important ones locally are the Cracker Box races, of which there are many, many of those boats here in Lake County and all over Northern California. So we're looking to get quite a participation from some of those groups also. We talked about the sanctioned body. There will be cash and trophies for each class awarded after the finals on Sunday. So we're talking Friday, load in, try to do some demo we tend to make Friday a free day at the event, so that anybody in town can come and look at it and have a chance to see what they're getting into and what we're going to have. So, okay. That would be my favorite one. That's a K-class boat, and it's also one of the boats that goes the fastest that you can see. So the type of product we're putting out is something that's going to be really attractive to the public, for sure. Okay. Pro stock class boats, pretty good. Okay. These are not with the hulls covered. The people are sitting out, sitting straight up in it, but they go very fast too, over 100 miles an hour. This was a lake at the, I think that race might be a Parker, do you think? Skip? Kip?
It looks like Long Beach Marine Stadium.
Also, okay, so it's another Long Beach race. Okay. This is a way that they start the racers out. They come and they load all the boats in the water. There's someone holding them there, and then they sound a horn that tells them they can go out and do their practice lap, and then they line up to come up for a start of the race with a rolling start. But it's a pretty good show. This is one of the hot boats. Yeah.
Okay.
This is one of the big fast boats at the Grand National Class boats. So those are supposed to look fast and good, and I think they do. So that's what I'm hoping for. In our meeting with Brad and Doug, we identified several areas that we need to address, and I'm happy to deal with those as questions, or I can sort of run down the list and tell you what we've had. It's really your call. I'm happy to take questions now. And I'd like to make one thing clear. What I'm really asking for is the right to just proceed, to work with the local staff. I've worked with some of them before, and to come back to you with an agreement that they said will work and can happen, and we're prepared to do it. So that's what we're really asking for. I think it's a terrific opportunity, and I can talk all night, or we can move me along, whatever you'd like to do. Are there questions specifically?
Well, we have to be kind of careful how we proceed here. Well, I guess it's on the agenda, right?
It's on the agenda. It's not agendized for particular
Action.
but
You can go
I think
roll
staff is
out
just
there in the
looking for
cracker,
direction.
in the cracker box.
You know, I don't. He's a very good friend of mine, and I
I know
just
he
don't
is.
involve him in business, so I'm not sure how I'd approach that, but I know he can whip me, so he probably will get to do what he wants.
I've been in a couple of his, enough so that yeah, it's scary and exhilarating at the same time.
It is.
That's the smallest boat I ever want to go in that fast, that's for sure.
I agree with you. Those flat bottoms are bumping.
I think staff had a couple of things they wanted to mention, because it's a big change for, from what I hear, it's how it was done way
It's
back
a
when.
change back to where our glory days.
Yeah, and where part of Lakeport Park would be closed off for admittance to get in, and then a lot of our ramps would be closed off. Brad might be able to speak more.
Right.
Those were the things that we just wanted to make sure wanted us to even proceed dealing with.
You have two more.
Oh, two more, okay.
I'll show you the footprint of the event, that'll help some too, okay?
Good idea.
And it'll also show the race I'll show you. So I was hoping to show better than that. The triangle that you see on the right side of the screen, that's actually the race course, and it's approximate. It'll be developed, and all of that is working with KIP. The sanction body will choose what the course is like. It's very attractive to the racers because it's what they call a two-pin course, which means there's 3 corners to it. Often they race on just sort of an oval that you go running up and down, so it's a drag race between, but this requires some little racing talent.
Did you want the point? This has a little red pointer. Would that help you push
That might be
little
too hard.
bottom
Okay.
button? Just
We'll
push
see if
that
I
bottom
can-
button.
Let's see if I can work this. Oh, yeah. Oh. See, Doug? The footprint has part of the park, the library park, next to the library. And then it goes north up through the parking lot all the way up to here. Now, the yellow lines you see are fence lines. And what I'd like to assure you is that no business that's there, KIP's business is located right there too at the north end of the course. No business would not ever be able to get in and out, access and egress to their property. The fence lines that you see that run along the long length leaves things, for instance, the parking next to Park Place Restaurant, as well as the circular route that you have to take to get around Park Place is available, and we'd be there full time too. But within the footprint, it's a fairly because of insurance and other things, the participants will all sign waivers, people in hospitality suites will sign waivers. So it would be difficult, in fact, I don't see how it could work to open those ramps, the 2 sets of ramps that are included in the footprint, until Sunday afternoon, as early as we can, shutting down Friday midday. In addition though, because that's going to be jammed full of boats and hospitality and other things, if you did let people use a ramp, there'd be no place for them to park and then come back and pick up the boat. It's just, that footprint's going to be full with what KIP needs for racers and what I need to sell this thing and make it make money and have a long existence. We want this to be something that's annual, because it keeps going a long time. So, I mean, that's essentially the story. If you can understand, see what it is. You know, of course, Brad and Doug had a lot of good questions about it. We're dealing with things like noise. I've got some information from the sanction body that says that the decibels that you hear may be as high as 110 to 120, which is in the range, but it's not a prolonged sound. The boat comes by, it makes noise, and then it's gone. And that's one of the key things I found out earlier through the observation stuff I did that has to do with what the human body can really take and do well with. So we're prepared to deal with that in detail and supply the information needed. And I'm sure your staff, they've certainly asked the questions that we need to be able to answer. I think I'm way far along to getting those answered. Covered the adjacent businesses, noise. Parking is an issue that was brought up to me. Our first choice is Natural High because of the accessibility. I've also set up alternate opportunities that may require shuttles at High Street, and if need be, I'll talk to the fairgrounds also. So I'm comfortable that we can deal with the type of audience we're talking about. We're talking about expecting 800 people over the 3 days. We're working from. To tell you the truth, I'm just not sure. We've got quite an extensive promotional plan and advertising plan coming up, so I'm really thinking we're going to draw some people out of Mendocino, Sonoma, and Napa too, maybe even further east. So. But we have done, and I've dealt with huge crowds before, and there will be a strong plan in place to make it work, including the security that we need and will actually need because of the value of the boats and everything. We'll have 24-hour security there, take care of the evenings and making sure everything works. Hospitality is really the key to this event working. So we've got to treat our customers well. There'll be hospitality suites, RVs, motorhomes, every other opportunity that the people that do this type of sport will be using. Also, I should tell you the event will be streamed live over the internet with a TV group that they put together that is just starting out, but the audience is growing all the time. So we're going to put, depending on how well we get the word out through our website and through other websites, that we're going to have a lot of reach on the show that goes out over to the computer. That's about, as I said, and we've also reached out to Water Resources with the county and the Sheriff's and Marine Patrol. Kip's very familiar with both of them. In fact, Kip's business, which is here, he is licensed to inspect the boats and put out the stickers for the fog whistles and everything that's required to cover that properly. So it'll be his call, not mine, if you don't do that. So there, I think that I've covered. Let's talk about the safety team. It's a very impressive organization. They've been doing these kinds of races with this current team for 25 years, through a couple of generations. They have a boat with a crane that can lift a race boat all the way off the bottom because our depth is so shallow here. It's really a terrific opportunity. There's 2 divers in place on the boat at all times. Plus we'll have the additional security out there in the water with the Sheriff's Marine Patrol. And we'll have some individuals that will help us keep the area clear so people aren't racing into the race course. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I'd just like us to give us a chance to move forward. We're on a short lead time, and it seems like it's short because we're talking June of 17. But the stuff, the sponsors, the investors, the plans have been in place for a year, and we're just refining them to be what details we have to work with. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, thank you. Chief?
Well, the one thing I just wanted to make clear, Jack kind of went over it, is that to do this entire area from the entire 5th Street parking area, the 5th Street ramp, the 3rd Street ramp, and half of the park would need to be closed for 2.5 days to all other public access. There would be no other boat launching in or out of there from the public. So I just wanted to make that known. I mean, that's a decision council's gonna have to make if they wanna do that. But Doug and I went over with Jack, and based on everything he showed us, I mean, the pit areas are inside this venue. It can't work unless it's set up that way. There's no way we can, like, piecemeal and temporarily let public in and out to launch boats. So the other issues on security, we're certainly willing to have our police department work with their hired security and also deploy staff to work that. Because it's not a nonprofit event, we would request that the council direct staff to bill them for the appropriate charges on any policing or extra public works personnel that are needed to maintain any public facilities in that area during the time. And the only other thing, Doug and I checked the city calendar against his dates. We don't believe there's any conflicts with other events. However, I don't believe we talked to you about whether or not you had talked to the Chamber of Commerce to see if they know of any other events that we're not aware of right now.
You know, I haven't done that. I made some attempts to gather other information, but because of Melissa's situation lately, I've held off. I'll talk to her next week and confirm that.
I just mentioned that because there could be potential other fishing tournaments or something that we don't know about right now. And that's, if the council makes a decision they want to move forward with this, there's obviously a lot of planning to do, but I think the word needs to go out that this area is not going to be available for any other events. And that word would need to go out real soon.
And also just for the general public that might be vacationing at that time.
Right.
So, I mean, if it overlapped with maybe the VW show, that might not be a problem, but if it overlapped with a bass tournament, that could be a big problem. So timing would be everything. But it's an excellent opportunity for us to have a huge event.
Yeah, it is going to be a huge event, and I understand this is a departure sometimes, but I've done this in other cities before. And you just have to, it's always come down is the event. You know, when we show both the region and the whole state, you know, Lake County's back with big time racing. It's a big event. We've got hospitality. The way it really works, a company can bring their customers, their employees, their sales targets. We bring them in, we have seats that they can look at the race behind them. There will be a hospitality area with catered foods, and tables with tents, and, I mean, either a canopy or umbrellas, whatever they choose. It's gonna be a first-class event, and I don't know, we can talk about it with bass fishermen. I do know I talked to the biggest hotel here on our Motel Row, which used to be Skylark Resort. The owner and I had a long talk, and she checked, and she said that Labor Day, they have a big crowd. On the other 2 dates we talked about, it's less than 60%. So they usually fill out immediately if there's a bass tournament that's going to be happening. And frankly, there's plenty of places to fish besides right there for the bass tournament. And I'm just saying, the advantage here certainly probably should be worth the risk. But I want to make clear too, we're going to do it right, and there will be charges. We're talking about a general issue charge. It'll be in the $10 or $12 range. Not something that's really exorbitant. We're not doing, but this thing has to at least break even for the first 2 or 3 years, and we want to keep it going. So, we're looking for a 1-year deal with a 3-year option, and we'll get into all of that with staff and see, what works best for all of us. I've never made deals bad on purpose, because you end up with a bigger headache in the long run than you have otherwise. So I think we know how to do it, and I just hope that we get a chance to do something big here.
Chief, on the southern end of that, does that include the First Street launch ramp?
No, sir,
No.
it does not.
So that would still be open?
That would be open.
And then Skylark, Clear Lake Avenue launch would be
Yes,
open?
that would
So
be
that would be
open.
something where, obviously, there's no parking, but a
Well,
shuttle service could be built in so that the trailered boat owners, if they're by themselves, could get back to the, maybe some temporary floating docks too on.
Yeah, and also the city could use, Margaret and us had discussed the Dutch Harbor property for boat and trailer parking,
Right.
truck and trailer
Right.
parking.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking of, if you're by yourself with your rig,
That- yeah.
boat and trailer, that you need your boat has to be tied up to something while you're being
Well-
shuttled back from the fairgrounds, or, I
Right,
mean, obviously
that's-
fit in that, what a close proximity.
First Street has that, but
Disney.
16th doesn't, or I'm sorry, Clear Lake Ave doesn't have that,
Right.
Well, Skylark has
or
a
Skylar.
real nice set of docks that they did about a year or so ago that could work with them, and they're very enthusiastic and will cooperate any way
Yes.
we need to. One point I would make too about impact, economic impact, if we can get, 800 to 1,000 people in this town over 2 or 3 days, 150 of which will be the racers themselves, who will stay in hotel rooms. They pay for the whole hotel rooms. They bring RVs, and they'll be staying in RV parks, and some of them ride at the racetrack too. So I haven't done the estimates yet. I used to remember all those formulas, but I haven't got to that yet. So, but it's going to be a significant impact for the people of Lakeport.
And if it goes really well, we'll work on getting you a bigger hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, I've worked on that for a long time.
Well, I spoke with Skip last year quite a bit, or Kip last year. Sorry, I say Skip. Sorry, Kip. And yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer for me. I mean, this is getting back to what we used to do on the lake.
Yeah,
So
well, going back to when this vacant lot over here was Lakeview Market, and when the boat races and ski races were down there, the people that were coming up on vacation came up mainly to watch the boat races and ski races. They did not come down here to interfere and try and get their boats in and out of the water. The fact that there was an event going on was irrelevant. They would come down here, and I mean, we literally had to fight people off, get them out of our parking lot, because it was just people down here all day long, and it just went on. And that was before we had all the parking going north. There was only 3rd Street, and that was it, and it was just, I mean, pandemonium. And then when you saw it over at the harbor, it was just the greatest thing. It was an economic driver for the entire county constantly. People are always asking me, why don't they do that, and why don't they do that anymore? And probably because somebody says, well, they're going to shut down the boat ramps and stuff. But this is kind of like bringing the fair to town and then complaining about parking on Martin Street. So, hey, there's not going to be any parking on Martin Street because the fair's in town. I said, well, aren't you going to the fair? Well, yeah, I'm going to the fair, but there's not going to be any parking down there for anybody else if they have another event. Well, there isn't going to be another event if this is going on, probably. And if there is a bass tournament, it's probably going to be on a different weekend, because you're going to do your best to work forward on that.
Yeah, we'll work with whoever we can. I have some strength from the sanction body in that their next big race is in Idaho, and they need a couple, 3 weeks to get there. So that's in July, first week in July, probably the 4th, I think they do it. So they'll work with me every way they can. They've really been terrific to work with. And it's going to be a great show. So if we can get something done, I'm very confident. When I first met with Margaret, and she helped me by fast-tracking the meetings that I had yesterday with Doug and Brad and appearing tonight, we're ready to go. We're just give us a shot, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can and get something signed.
Jack, also Kip, I came to Lake County, probably visited Lakeport first time in '95, moved here in '99, and I don't think a year has gone by that I've ever been here that I haven't spoke to someone about guys racing on Clear Lake, and in particular right out here next to Lakeport. It is a tradition that would be nice to see come back. There are hurdles, obviously. I mean, there's going to be people that won't be happy to see the event, but for the most part, I would be looking at it as a positive event also.
Terrific, thank you. It's been proven before. I'm just sorry it took so long to get back to here.
Yeah.
So we're ready to roll. Anything else I can answer? The list and the questions that Doug and Brad brought up were all stuff that we considered before. We've got answers for most of it. And those that we don't will be on top of it. I'll certainly talk to Melissa next week and find out how that fits in her schedule. And that's it. So thank you very much. You may or may not be able to vote to say go forward with staff. I don't know. Those are rules that I'm not familiar with. So what do we can do if you can? What do we need to do to move forward, Margaret?
Well, I just need to get an idea from the council if they're interested in having you work with staff to move forward on this and just get it.
Yes, for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go forward.
I'd be positive.
Yes, it's on one, so we can staff and start working with Jack and his group to make the event happen.
So for the media, can that be 5-0? Sorry, I shouldn't answer.
Sounded like it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Other than Jack or Kip, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this? I know it was a public presentation, but I take any input that you'd like to give us. Is it Bob? I can't remember your name.
Could you please not approach the podium with hands in your pockets? It's law enforcement. Nervous.
Brad was jumpy. Chief was flinching there.
Yeah.
Apologize. Tim Barnes, the record. I think this is an awesome idea. I'm just wondering how, has anything been taken into consideration to how this will impact Disney's business?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. We talked to Jack about that in detail, and he was gonna go meet with the Disneys. It should not affect their ability to use that ramp for their business to launch boats throughout the entire weekend. They'll just have to steer clear of the boundaries of where the racetrack is. But it won't prevent them from launching, getting their customers out there that want to be on the lake.
Okay.
If I could just respond to one thing on that. Our goal is to involve those people, the Disneys and the boat repair places and the people who build engines, and there's a lot of them here. One of the parts of our plan we haven't talked about yet is that we plan to have a motorboat expo that'll be on the grounds, that'll be available for everyone to come and show their wares and maybe sell some product too. So that's the objective. We certainly need those people on our side. So.
You know, and we've also had some logistics already with the car and boat show that we had earlier this year during the summertime. So we already had to deal with Park Place, local businesses, parking, Disney as well. So those meetings have already happened for that one. So it's definitely something that they're aware of. And in reality, that car and boat show was kind of a test feeler gauge to see if in fact we could bring an event like this to Lakeport and Lake County. So I think the right steps have been taken, and the baby steps, you know, at that point to see what kind of impacts we had, especially on Library Park with parking. So I think we're in a good spot, and it'll be up to some of you folks to continue that moving forward.
I would just add, myself and my staff will be talking to every business that is along the site that is parallel to it. we will make sure they understand that they're not gonna be negatively impact on business. Now, you know, on Saturday morning when we're loading in the crowd, there's 3 streets that will be used for gates, for entrances. So 1 for the racers and 2 for public and safety and other people. So the plan will be in place, but we want those people. I can see a bunch of pontoon boats out there watching the racers go around from Disney too. So that's where I'd like to be probably.
Absolutely.
The other thing I didn't hear come up is that Jack mentioned to us is that for all this hospitality stuff, their plan is to use our businesses here, not bring other people in to do it from out of the area.
That's great.
So he was already focused on that he wants to involve the businesses in this area to deal with that.
Thank you. It's important.
That is
This is a Lakeport event. We're going to have hospitality suites. They're going to need catering. I made a deal today to lease the yacht club for the entire weekend. There's a terrific opportunity for someone to do hospitality there, but also it's got a full kitchen, and we can generate some of the catering. And I'll be looking to the restaurants. I'll be talking to Park Place first to see what they want to do. The new restaurant, Twisted Sisters, you know, pizza works great at these events, so I'll be working on Main Street and asking them to participate. Okay?
Thank you, Tim. You got kind of ran over there when you were...
That's all right, I got the answer I was looking for.
All right. Any other members of the public that would like to comment on this?
Stay warm.
All right. I believe you have directions.
Yes, I do.
Oh, no problem. Take care. Nice
You have
meeting
direction, Jack.
I'm sorry?
Oh, no, we're good. We have direction.
Okay, great. Thank you. I know when to not ask for more. Thank you.
You sure you don't want to stay?
I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's freezing,
All right. Very nice presentation. We'll move on to item number 7, which would be council business. We're looking at item number 1, which would be the sewer fund generators bid award and budget amendment. And Jenny, is this going to be you?
Sure. If there's any generator questions, I'm going to rely on Doug now.
That's all right. We got a good generator.
No, wait, you have to answer it.
No. I couldn't tell the difference between a 4 kilowatt and a 40 kilowatt generator, so you don't want me anywhere near them.
We want to pay for a 4 kilowatt and get a 40.
What is it?
There we go. There's the finance side.
Good plan. Okay, so what's before you is a request to award a bid for some generators that were actually budgeted in the prior fiscal year, but due to staffing, we were not able to get the bids and wrap up that project. So Public Works staff has bid out the generators, and the amount of the generators was consistent with the amount that was budgeted in the prior year's budget. So what we're asking is that you authorize the procurement of the generators and the amendment of the 16-17 budget in the amount of $65,931 to complete the project. I'll be glad to answer any financial questions and forward generator questions to Doug.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. Doug, did you have anything to add before we?
No, this was an item that, with all the things that happened within the public service department over the last year, just did not get put out. These are standby generators for our sewer pump lift stations. The ones that we currently have, we all know, are military surplus. 40 years old, and we're really looking at trying to, we have 2 things we need to do. We need to bring them into compliance with all the new airport regulations with CARB. And then just having something that's much newer, more user-friendly. We're losing our 35-year employee, Bill Grady, this year is retiring. Bill is the one that could coax these things to life. And so with Bill being gone, we really need to get user-friendly, turn the button on and it starts. So that's what this is all about.
If we need them, we want them to start.
Yes.
Okay.
Doug, are the 3 bids all for the same thing?
Yes, yes, they were, we put out a request for
Okay.
quotes. It listed all the requirements of the generators, and then we received back three quotes, and this amount is the low bidder out of those 3 quotes that we received back.
Is there any other questions, council? I'll open it up to the public. Are there any questions about the purchase or potential purchase of these generators? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for a possible motion or more discussion.
But this one's pretty obvious, because even just one generator, $36,000 fails, or one of our current ones, and that spill goes into the lake, $65,000 is nothing compared to the fines that we're gonna pay, that the state of California is gonna hail down on us. So if there is no further discussion, Mr. Mayor, I'd move to award the bid to Leedy Generators in the amount of $65,931 for the procurement of 2 trailer-mounted generators, authorize the city manager to sign purchase contracts, and amend the fiscal year 2016-17 budget for Fund 601 in the amount of $65,931.
Second.
Ooh, I'm not sure who made that. Okay, we'll go with Ken.
Louder.
We'll go with Ken.
No.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry about that, Turner.
I'm not done yet.
All right, we've got some generators. Or at least, I mean, once I saw in there it takes, how long to get them in?
We're probably looking at 60 days.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Jenny, thank you. Oh, you're back up.
Yeah.
I know, you're right back up. We have item number 2, which would be Public Works budget correction amount to account number 100. Actually, I'll just leave that off. We've got it on the agenda.
Okay?
Okay.
All right,
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and council members, you're being asked to amend the fiscal year 16-17 budget again. This time, it relates to an error that resulted from the inputting, when the budget was input into our accounting system. The line item, which you were starting to read off, 110-30-20-990-308, was inadvertently input as 5,000, not 50,000. And so it wasn't discovered until last month when Doug and I were reviewing budget financial information for his department and realized that there was an error. So we're just asking that we amend the budget to what was intended to be budgeted rather than what actually was budgeted.
You mean you couldn't make that stretch? Could you stretch that out?
When Doug started to feel
Come on,
positive,
Jim.
realizing he didn't have
That's
any money.
unacceptable.
That's why they make
Well, I
write-ups.
kept asking Doug, why can't you just spend 5,000? Come on, I mean, what's 45,000? And so this budget line item is intended to include costs related to road projects. So it's asphalt, concrete, weather patching. And so it's those things that the Public Works Department needs to maintain our roads.
Thank you, Jenny.
Welcome.
Doug, anything to add on that?
No,
Okay.
other than the bills came in and
5,000 wouldn't quite cover it.
They're like, oh my.
there was a look of shock on my face when I think Ginny can attest to.
Any other questions from council for staff? No? I'll open this up to the public. Any questions on amending this number for Public Works? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for a possible motion or more discussion.
I'll make a motion to authorize a budget amendment for Fund 110 in the amount of $45,000 to correct an error.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think we're correct now. You can buy asphalt. Thanks,
Yeah.
Doug. Thanks, Jim.
It's just for potholes.
All right, we're up to item number B, which would be city clerk, and we're looking at a pegboard appointment. And Kelly, that would be you.
Yes, this is not a pegboard. Peg Channel Board. So, can you hear me?
Back in the day, it was permanent peg board.
As council may recall, in 2015, the city entered into a JPA with the city of Clear Lake and the county of Lake to jointly assume responsibility of the PEG channel. And with that, that created a PEG channel board of directors. And Councilmember Shield was the first assigned director from representing the city of Lakeport. The board consists of 5 directors. So there's one from Lake County, one from Clear Lake, one from Lakeport. And then those 3 pick the other 2 board members. Within the agreement, it doesn't specify whether the director on the board needs to be a member of the council or whether it can be a citizen. So the first question that staff has for you tonight is to determine whether you would like that position to be held by one of your own members or whether you're okay with just recruiting a citizen for that position. With that being said, an interested member of the public has come forward and presented an application in case that's the direction the council goes. So that's what's before you, is to appoint a member, whether it be from your own body or a member of the city. And if you would like to appoint this interested party, that's what staff was recommending due to his high, qualification. He is in India traveling at the moment and couldn't make it to tonight's meeting. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
And I'll give you a little more background on this. My term is not actually up until January of 2018, but due to my wife's new position, the evening schedule of this meeting is just, it kills us. It's just almost impossible to make it happen. So otherwise, I'd have been happy to serve out my term until January of 2018. Dave Thompson, yes, he's been sending some pretty awesome pictures actually back from India, going to a friend's wedding. Must be nice, India. But he is also a programmer for the PEG channel, has been since he's moved to Lakeport. He's overly qualified for the position and showed great interest from the very first meeting that he came to almost 2 years ago now. So I think he's a perfect fit. He would be my recommendation to the board to at least fill out my seat. So he would only really be filling the seat for a year before the 3 members and the 3 governing boards would then have to reappoint in January 2018.
Are there any members of council that have an interest in filling this position over the suggested motion?
And it's a Monday evening meeting at 6 p.m. Meetings can last from an hour to 2 hours, and they alternate between the City of Clear Lake and the City of Lakeport, just to give you some background.
Similar to Lakeport.
And I'd imagine if there's something that's going to affect us, who would come do a presentation and update us.
Yes, and actually through the MOU, there are requirements that the PEG board has to give presentations to all the governing bodies, both budgetary as well as informational.
Do you know how often they have to do that?
Once a year.
Just once? Okay. I'm fine with, he's
But-
very qualified and very interested, so.
But as an example, with the pass-through money coming from MediaCom, it is budgeted and slated for the chambers to be both audio and video retrofitted for live broadcast or recorded broadcast of the PEG channel.
And that's coming soon. I think the cameras are ordered.
The RFP's been out, and so they're still looking at literally purchasing the equipment and then hiring the contractor to install it.
Is that a good thing?
You'll have to comb your hair.
Any other input from council? Margaret, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not at all, thank you.
I'll open this up to the public about this appointment, whether you have any opinions on it being a council person or being Dave Thompson or anybody else. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
If I could just make one comment, I'm comfortable, given that this is an appointment that's necessary because of a resignation. I'm comfortable appointing somebody tonight. However, in the future, when the term expires, that I'd like to see that added to the public outreach. Just so anyone who's interested in applying in a timely manner
Yes.
for the normal rotation has the
Yes, so
opportunity to
staff
do so.
would do that, and you'll actually see that come back on
Okay,
the Mattiac list that comes around
great.
once a year.
Thank you.
Because we've basically realigned all those to come up at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, so this will come up again, well, this time, well, January next year.
I'm also very comfortable with Dave Thompson, he's well qualified.
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Dave Thompson as the Lakeport representative to the PEG Channel Board of Directors with term expiring on the first Monday of January 2018.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of this appointment? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're good. I think we're set. Thank you, Kelly. Next up, we have item C, which would be Public Works Director. Doug, and we're talking about traffic control measures on 20th Street.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, at our the November 1st, 2016 council meeting, when we had filled out here and we were looking at the Lakeport speed zone study, and the approval of that was brought to council and staff's attention of an issue on 20th Street. Staff was given direction by council to start pursuing, looking at ways that we could possibly reduce the recommended speed limit that is set by state law. Staff has worked on that. Brad actually took the point on that. We've looked at different options with our city engineer. We think that a combination of enforcement, which Brad is working on, with striping improvements in that area would get us to what we hope is the desired speed when the speed zone study is redone on that portion of the road, so that we can legally set the speed limit at 25 miles an hour and be able to enforce that. What you have before you now is a request for funding to move ahead with the design and the implementation of the striping program, which would basically, I was out of town, so Brad put this staff report together for me. The widths are I would like to make a correction to those. The shoulder width would actually be 9 feet instead of 8 feet, and the travel lane would be approximately 11 feet instead of 12 feet. So what we're doing is we're actually shrinking the lane down, trying to give that, a traffic calming method is to make you feel like you're pinched in. And so we're requesting $10,000 to continue on getting this put together. We would have to put out an RFP to get some quotes on what it would cost to have a contractor come in and do the striping, because we want to do it in a thermoplastic versus a paint, and also to put in what we call the bot dots, so that if they get off the, start crowding that center line, it gives them that bump feeling, and people do not like that. And so it keeps them in their lane, and it does keep them slowed down. At this time, our estimate for doing that is $10,000. So we're asking council to approve $10,000 budget adjustment to Public Works to proceed with that project.
Actually, it's not to exceed 10,000.
Right.
But if you can bring it down lower.
Like 5,000?
I don't think we're going to be wanting to hear for 5,000. And when we get the quotes back, then of course we'll kind of have to come to council, because this is the 10,000 as an estimate on what it's going to cost to do
We
the
would be
striping.
bringing it back if it was under 10. But if it's
Right.
over 10, you bring it back to council.
Right.
for
Correct.
approval.
8225.
Doug, did you review the plan with Phil Dow?
Yes, we did talk to Phil about what our intent was, and Phil is in concurrence with us that that is the most economical way that we can hope to reduce traffic speeds without going to a lot greater expense trying to do tabletops or some kind of median to give us that closed-in feeling to reduce those speeds.
This gives us an additional enforcement too. Once a double yellow with dots is right down the middle of that, it gives our officers that may happen to be doing traffic monitoring on the street. You know, if somebody crosses the double yellow, that's a pretty big hit compared to a speeding ticket as well. So I mean, this is just a variable and a part of changing the behavior, and I think it's definitely.
And we're working really closely with Brad on this. This is definitely a joint effort between the police department and public works.
And there have been calls. I've heard some of them come across from people calling on people, either their neighborhood residents and calling the police department saying, hey, this person went by in this kind of vehicle doing almost 50 on 20th Avenue, so.
And that's what we want them to do, but police department definitely feels that this would make it easier. This is another tool to make it easier to reduce those speeds on a shorter term rather than a longer term. And I think that's what we want to do. That's the goal, is to get it reduced as soon as we can. And this is just another necessary thing we feel that is needed to go along with the enforcement.
So Doug, when you talked to Phil, did he say that this alone, or this was in conjunction with the enforcement done by the police department? Did he really give you a feeling that this has worked in other areas, or it's just like it's a tool? Was it something he was just kind of like placating you, or was he actually feeling that this might actually do the job?
No,
only in combination with the enforcement?
Right, well, the combination is what's really going to make this stick, because we all know when you get spanked on the hand, eventually you're going to quit reaching in the cookie jar. So I think that is going to be a crucial element, is people need, that's what makes people understand we're serious. We're not just putting a sign up here for our own pleasure. We're serious. You have to slow down when you come into this neighborhood. And so between giving them a traffic calming mechanism, and then with good enforcement behind that, what we need to do, as we discussed earlier, most of the issue comes from within that 5-block area. So what we need to do is we need to modify behavior as well as traffic calming types of things, so that it actually makes them think when they start coming down into that residential area, I got to slow down here. And we want them to be consciously thinking that, because that's the only way they're going to slow down. It has to be a conscious effort. And you start writing some tickets along with your traffic calming, we all believe that is definitely going to be what's going to take to change the behavior that's there right now.
I think that once again, this is one of those situations where people don't seem to understand what they don't know, and sometimes public outreach and information, and whether it's on the police website, or whether it's a general newspaper article or something like that, letting people know the purpose for what we're doing in the city actually reached into their pocket, because we're concerned about what the people said and about their dogs and their cats and their kids and everything, and there's nothing else we could do except the 30. Along with this, maybe we can try and modify their behavior, but it is that hotbed up there coming up and down that are doing it, so the message needs to get out there, and that's where that public outreach is so important, to let them know why we're doing what we're doing.
Phil felt that this was really a good idea to do in this area because of the nature of that street. It's not one that's designated as a collector or an arterial street, but it is a very wide residential street that's in very good condition. So that's what's a lot of what's led to the speed there, where if you were looking at some other residential streets, it may not make sense to invest this kind of money in a striping, but that, from my understanding and talking to him, that's why he felt it was an excellent idea to add to the safety of it.
Do we have a plan to put something in the newsletter about it?
We certainly can.
Yeah, we certainly can. We haven't started to put the newsletter together yet, but I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's
And we plan to do more, public education. The one letter that we sent out is not the end of it. We plan to keep that campaign going.
Great.
So that the information stays fresh.
Doug, Chief, I appreciate the effort on this. This is, I know when you tighten up those lanes, first off, as a traffic calming, element, it does slow down traffic, at least for the most part. There's some people that just are not going to respond to it, but
Yeah,
for
we
the most
definitely.
part, you tighten up the lanes and people do slow down. And I know when I hit the bumpity bumps, my wife gives me the stink eye, so nobody likes it.
And this is really a joint effort, not just with police and public works, but community development and our engineering department. They were right there meeting with us and working on this. So it's really a joint effort by, many city departments on trying to make this thing work. It's one department can't do it alone, so.
I think this is a very good win-win situation. It's a kind of a low-cost item, short of physically narrowing the street. Exactly. I did some research earlier. There's the U.S. Department of Transportation publishes a paper on the effectiveness of some statistics on the effectiveness of some of these measures, and when you add the two of them together, their paper shows about a 3 to 4 mile reduction, and that's even without the enforcement effort on it. The biggest thing is the bot dots. My kids call them the turtles that Dad hits. They, and we're really only looking if you remember back to Phil's technical discussion on that. Really, in order to bring that speed limit back down to 25, we're only talking about a 3 mile per hour reduction in that 85th percentile. So I think this is a very good thing. And the other thing to remember too, the fog lines will keep on street parking. So you're not going to see any loss of parking there for the residents that live on 20th. But it will also, I think right now the problem is without that center line, and especially without the bot dots on there, folks are using that as kind of one lane.
Well, if there's no traffic, yeah, it's a one-lane
It's a
road,
one-lane
which is very easy to go 45 to 50 miles an hour on, yeah.
So even you're still maintaining a very, very large travel lane, just under 12 feet, but with the center line in there and stuff, I think this is a very cost-effective way of achieving that objective.
Well, plus the absence, when there's absence of parked vehicles on 20th with fog line, that's something that, as a driver now, can see.
Correct.
It's in their mind that they can see it, and that helps. Just like the painted bike lanes. I mean, even there's no physical barrier there. People, when they see a painted bike lane in an intersection, it looks like an island. Your mind is going, hey, I gotta, navigate through this, slow down. So I think we're in the right direction on this one.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
may I make a comment? Margaret, I'm sorry I didn't notice this earlier, but when you do get to the point where you consider the motion, if you could add that there's a budget amendment in there. This is intended to have a budget amendment, but the
Right. I saw
motion
that
doesn't
earlier.
specifically say it. So if you could add to the end and amend the fiscal 2016-2017 budget, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you have a fund? Do you have a specific fund on that one?
I do. It will be general fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? Come on down.
I am Nathan Maxman. The only question I actually had, because I read what they put together, is there a chance of putting some of the dots on the fog line? Because while putting them in the center works, if there's nobody parked there, it's really easy to get going pretty quick there.
I've never seen the dots put on the fog line. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd have to research that a little bit. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I have never put the dots on the fog line. I'm not sure exactly why that is. So before I could really answer your question, I'd have to research that and find out why don't they put dots on the fog line. I think maybe, and this is just an educated guess from Doug, okay? When you have the dots in the center, when you hit those, you know exactly what you're doing, okay? You know you're going over the center line. If you had a person that was possibly impaired or something was happening or it was very foggy and they got over to the fog line and they felt those dots, they could feel that they were in the wrong lane and then veer off of the roadway into the ditch because they didn't realize where they were. And I'm just guessing, but you know, when they're just in the center, you know exactly what's going on with those dots versus if you had them on all sides, then you could get confused.
I was just thinking on the highway, they use, I guess it's some type of stamping or grind.
They grind them.
And that would
Yeah.
be significantly more expensive than just placing dots. So I was wondering if it's possible. Because that definitely, when you hit that, you're like, oh.
Nathan, thank you. Any other members of the public like to comment on this? See none. Bring this back to council for more discussion or a amendment to the suggested motion.
I would just thank staff for getting on this right away for the public. You know, they all came out and you listened and did something right away, so thank you.
All you.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to begin work on a roadway striping plan for 20th Street between Alden Avenue and Hartley Street as outlined by staff with costs not to exceed $10,000 with an amendment to the 2016-17 budget.
Second.
And the motion and the second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kudos
Thanks, Chief.
again.
Thanks, Doug.
You guys did a good job on that. Next up, we have council communications. I'm going to start with Doug.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All is well in the city of Lakeport.
Chief?
And no report.
Got it?
I can't remember, Doug, with the HSIP grant, that wasn't, we didn't announce that last time.
No,
probably
Kind
not.
of over Thanksgiving
So,
holiday.
yeah, that's right. So Doug, myself, Paul Cran, and a lot of support with Lake APC, we were successful in obtaining a $580,000 grant through the Highway Safety Improvement Fund, specifically to be used for restriping of collector and arterial roadways. Unfortunately, 20th Street is not a collector or arterial street. But to address the issue that we have with the striping, unfortunately, with some stormwater requirements, the striping that we are able to use does not last very long. We're not able to achieve an economies of scale to use the thermoplastic, which Doug likes. This will get us there so that we can get a contractor in and take advantage of those economies of scale and get some lines that work good and hopefully will improve traffic safety around town.
Very cool.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. Jenny?
The only thing I'd like to report is the auditors were in last week and they've concluded their field work and the audit went very well, I think. We're still waiting to hear back on their results, but I'm not expecting anything major. And other than that, Merry Christmas.
Kelly?
Just a reminder that the Employee Appreciation Day is Friday, the lunch. It starts at 10 and should go to about 2, I think. We have some fun activities planned, so I hope you guys come. It's going to be at the fairgrounds. Little theater?
Little theater at the fairgrounds, yeah.
Okay.
David?
No report, thank you.
Actually, the election results are in, and I want to congratulate Mr. George Spur and Mr. Tim Barnes on the election results. And we'll be doing that, adding the new council members on the December 20th council meeting. So our next council meeting will be doing that. Oh, I'm kidding, I'm sorry.
And, you know.
Our highest vote is Mr. Carlett, thank you so much, yeah.
Nice, just a piece of furniture, you know?
Great.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Councilor Carlett.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks. Councilwoman Turner?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Pro Tem?
I was excited to see the Dickens Festival back. The rain was awful. I felt so bad for them. Thanks to everyone that came out and worked it, and hopefully it'll be a stepping stone to a bigger one next year. My kids loved the tree lighting, and we had a great time, even though it was raining.
Councilman Parlett?
Well, Ken Saderlin was complaining about Public Works not doing enough outreach to tell them when to move their cars so that they could do the street sweeping, and that they're not doing it on a regular schedule, and he doesn't know what the schedule is, and that you need to call him personally ahead of time, and everyone else on the street, if you can do that, please. Or something like that. Anyway, other than that, I have been in conversation with police officers from various areas and different people in high places. I'm particularly concerned about the Proposition 47, Proposition 57, and 109, and Chief's been sending me a lot of information. I'm doing a lot of research on what other cities are doing about the influx of different criminal elements and the lack of the police having tools. And so we've just been doing a lot of brainstorming, and it's a particularly interesting subject to me. And so I'm trying to get prepared for upcoming events that we might be able to put on, maybe working in concert with the Sheriff's Department and other people trying to promote strategies that might help us deal with the influx and the changes that we're dealing with constantly with 47 and 57. And I really appreciate Chief's been sending me a lot of articles from all over the state and country. And we've been working together trying to get somewhere with all that so that we'll have a handle on it, because we know that safety is one of the most important things for everybody in the city of Lakeport. We want to keep it safe.
If I could just add to that, just the reason this started out with talking to Councilmember Parlett recently is as a business owner, he had contacted me regarding the huge amounts of theft that are going on from businesses. And so we wanted to try to start reaching out to some of our retail businesses here and see if we could try to get some estimates on some of the theft amounts that are going on, and see how we could maybe get them involved in our efforts too, to work with us to kind of get it more of a team effort to try to reduce some of that theft, because I can tell you we have, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of amount of merchandise that's being lost. And I don't have detailed numbers yet, but I am reaching out to the businesses, and we have businesses that are losing significant amount of merchandise, and that not only impacts them, but that impacts tax money that would be coming in potentially to the city.
And my biggest concern is that with the lack of enforcement and the lackadaisical attitude of some of the businesses, they literally have a hands-off attitude. People don't have $950 in their shopping cart that literally let them walk out. And what it's doing, it's emboldening criminals, and they're getting more and more scantless and literally sharing information about how easy it is to do, and they're thinking that everybody's a mark. And so I think we need to have a concerted effort, and that's what Chief and I have been working on, trying to get the businesses to take more of an interest in the lifting that's going on and the massive amount of money that's being taken out of this county, illegally, and the criminals getting together and having meetings about how to do it. And it's just gone too far, and we're just going to say no to it. We're going to work on a strategy. That's it.
Councilman Shield?
Just a reminder that tomorrow is the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and as we do each year, we do a memorial service right here in Library Park. And Mr. Bill Slater is still with us, an actual Pearl Harbor. He is the lone Pearl Harbor survivor. And Alice Darrow, she's a sweetheart of the Pearl Harbor survivors, and those two are characters. They have become best friends over the years. And so there'll be a ceremony out at the memorial. It's not a flagpole, mast. Don't call it a flagpole. And right after that, we'll be back here in council chambers. And it's always good to hear the stories. You can hear them over and over again on how Alice met her husband. And I won't spoil it for anybody that hasn't heard it before, but it's a pretty, it's stranger than Hollywood, stranger than fiction. So it's a good story. And Bill's story on why he is with us, and not like many of his friends on the ship that he was on, is an amazing story as well. So I would behoove anyone to come down If you bring your children, make sure they have earplugs, because there will be a multiple gun salute from our local colors and honors group. They don't only do it for funerals, but they make an exception for the Pearl Harbor Memorial. But it's loud, extremely loud. So, and that starts at 9 a.m. at the memorial mass there. So
Cool.
that's it.
Okay. Mr. Spur, Mr. Barnes, I wanted to congratulate you for your win, and I'd also like to mention Nathan, who is sitting out there tonight. I was just telling Councilwoman Turner earlier, people are defined by how they respond to defeat. You are here tonight, and I find that impressive. I've been there before, so stick with it. If it's something you're interested in, hang tight. Other than that, we have an event coming up on Wednesday. Is it this coming Wednesday, Chief? Where we're gonna...
Yeah, the 14th for the dedication of the PD, and we're planning to get a press release out on that to the public this week, but yes, that's still
2 p.m. on
confirmed.
14.
2 p.m. on the 14th. For anyone out there that would like to attend?
And Congressman Thompson's office will be in attendance
Great.
at the event.
Other than that, I'd just like to acknowledge that tonight will be the last time that this council opens and closes a meeting together. And there will be a few changes at the next meeting, and I think it'll all work out. So with that, we'll call it.